there. Nice to see ya. The name's Nine Eye, and you caught me packing for my big trip through time.
Who are you? Quentin Spoon, City Postmaster, at your service.
It was the year 1787. In the city of Philadelphia, the Constitutional Convention was in session.
Our meeting has officially come to order. Let us all say the pledge.
WDW Radio, your information station.
Some of the best food in Walt Disney World is hiding in plain sight. And in this week's My 5, I'm revealing my 5 overlooked dining spots that I don't just love, but I think most guests miss, but absolutely should not. And I can't wait to hear your favorites too, so be ready to share yours after the show. Hello, my friend, and welcome to WDW Radio, your guide to the Disney parks and experiences from around the world. I am Lou Mangello, and this is show number 849. Whether this is your first time listening or you've been with me for all 20 years since the very beginning, thank you for being here. Welcome or welcome back. Welcome home. Please be sure to join the community and conversation over in the WDW Radio Clubhouse at www.radio.com/clubhouse. Watch and chat this and every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Facebook and YouTube for WDW Radio Live. Sign up for my free weekly email newsletter for updates and exclusive content over at www.radio.com/newsletter. And when you do, I will send you a free gift. And when you're ready to plan your next Walt Disney World vacation, maybe to go and eat at one or more of these restaurants, don't listen hungry, visit my friends over at Mousefan Travel for fee-free expert planning from the team that I have relied on and trusted for more than 18 years to make not just my family's, but yours as well, every trip seamless and unforgettable. And as always, my friend, and you are my friend, whether we have met yet or not, all I ask is that if you enjoy the show, please rate, review, and more importantly, share it with a friend. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the WDW Radio Show. Walt Disney World is filled with incredible dining. You've probably heard me talk about it before, but I think some of the best spots are the ones that sometimes a lot of guests just walk right past. They are the hidden gems, the tucked away spaces and lounges, the resort restaurants with some amazing food, but maybe some low visibility, and I think the places that really reward curiosity. So this week, I'm going to explore my 5 favorite overlooked dining experiences across Walt Disney World. And I think these are the places that not necessarily everybody talks about or maybe even knows about. Yes, there's one on my list I don't see a lot of people even mentioning very often, but I think also offer some outstanding food options, great atmosphere, and sometimes really surprising value. And I'm talking about everything from lakeside dining to global flavors and some quiet corners inside the parks and some restaurants that also feel like real escapes. And most importantly, not all of them require a 180-day reservation battle. So I want to highlight some of the spots that I think deserve a little bit more love, a little bit more attention, and hopefully you add to your must-try list the next time you visit. So whether you are a long-time Walt Disney World fan or you're planning your very first trip, I think these are some locations that can add something new and maybe memorable to your vacation. So I invite you to bring your appetite, maybe a little curiosity, some open-mindedness, and we're going to go through some of my 5 overlooked dining treasures in Walt Disney World. So we're going to start in Disney Springs, which I believe is like the 5th theme park and has some of the best dining in all of Walt Disney World. And we're going to start with one that really helped sort of prompt the idea for this segment in the first place, because this is one that I think people don't know about, people certainly don't talk about, and admittedly, I am neglectful on my own for not returning here as often as I told myself I would like when I first tried this when it opened back in 2019. And the restaurant that I'm talking about is Pepe. And if you're asking yourself who and what and where is Pepe, then I obviously I picked the right one to go first. Pepe by Jose Andres is absolutely deservedly a spot on this overlooked dining list. It's a counter service location located in the front corner of Jaleo, his signature restaurant, which is a table service restaurant. That it's the one that looks like the Awesome Blossom Onion from Chili's across from the AMC Theater. And it is the first permanent brick and mortar version of his food trucks that started in Washington, D.C. And I think of Pepe as sort of the little brother to the award-winning and also very delicious Jaleo. And I think really is one of the best hidden food and quick service spots, not just in Disney Springs, but in Walt Disney World for authentic, high-quality Spanish street food. And part of the reason why it's on this list is not just because it's overlooked, but I think it's also severely underrated, which often means you're not going to have to fight for a table or wait in a long line. I think most guests just walk right past it or don't even realize that it's separate from Jaleo, or maybe even that it's a restaurant at all, because there's not really a lot of signage out front other than a small-ish stand-up sandwich board, which is easy to walk by and again, maybe even confuse that Pepe is part of Jaleo, and maybe you just sort of think that it's an extension of the restaurant because there is no big outdoor sign that pulls people in. I think a lot of guests just walk right past it on their way to some of the bigger and more recognizable names in Disney Springs. And I also think it's very much overlooked and sometimes invisible to people because it is a quick service, fast casual restaurant. And I think sometimes people don't expect the food to be on par or equal to, maybe even better than some of the sit-down locations. But I think it absolutely deserves your attention and the open-mindedness to trying it at least once, because the sandwiches, which are incredible, really sort of reflect the authentic Spanish flavors created by Jose Andres. It's freshly baked bread. It's quick service. It's never really crowded, even during the peak dinner hours. And Pepe has this extensive menu of both hot and cold Spanish-style sandwiches, including bocatas and bikinis, and a wildly overlooked burger. And I think it really just offers sort of chef-inspired, chef-driven food at Disney Springs without the wait or the cost of a full table service meal. And so what's on the menu? Like I said, it leans heavily into Spanish sandwiches, burgers, hot dogs, and some shareable snacks, plus a few classic desserts and drinks as well. So there are pressed sandwiches called bikinis. Yes, spelled the same as the bathing suit bikini, but this is more like a panini, like it's a thin, pressed, toasted sandwich with ham and cheese, very popular in Spain, especially in Barcelona. It's actually named after a nightclub where it gained fame back in the 50s. Think of it sort of as Spain's version of the croque monsieur. So they have a 3-cheese bikini, ham and manchego cheese, chorizo, manchego, and honey, all run about $10 to $12. They also have a shaved ribeye sandwich on crispy Spanish bread, which is incredible, Spanish-style burgers and hot dogs, these amazing little fried potatoes with spicy sauce called patatas bravas, salads, soups like gazpacho, fritters, and for dessert, they have churros and chocolate, flan, or soft-serve ice cream. They also have Spanish beer and Spanish wine and sangria, sometimes frozen, you can get in the summer. There's table and counter service seating inside. I think this is a great option too if you're going to, for example, Cirque du Soleil Drawn to Life, if you're looking for a quick bite before you go back to your resort, a really nice place for lunch. And I also think it's a great value. I think it sort of bridges the gap between quick, casual, convenient, and celebrity chef quality that you get next door at Jaleo. It's also a great value. The sandwiches and wide variety of flautas start at only $10. So I think Pepe ticks a lot of boxes, right? I think if you want high-quality, chef-driven food without the wait or the cost of a full table service meal, if you're looking for different flavors, like Spanish flavors, but don't have the time for a slow sit-down dinner, I also think it's a great option for families. Everything on the menu is really accessible, and if your kids maybe or you are picky eaters, there's everything from simple hot dogs or burgers or fried chicken sandwiches to more of the Spanish-inspired flavors. And look, they offer sangria and Spanish beer and wine, so I think it gives an adult-friendly twist to a quick service meal. So like I said, I think it meets all of the criteria. Again, not just because it's, I don't think, on a lot of people's radar, but there is a wide spectrum of unique flavors. It's quick service, it's great value, it's high quality, chef-inspired, and a great option that I think most guests just walk right past on their way to some of the other destinations in Disney Springs. And again, admittedly, I haven't been in a long time. Now that I'm talking about it more, I really need to go back soon. And number 2 on my list, I was sort of questioned putting this on here because I think if you know, you know. And we're going to go from Disney Springs to the resorts, because I think if you've been to Three Bridges Bar and Grill at Villa del Lago at Disney's Coronado Springs Resort, you know. If you've been once, you've gone back again, most likely. And if you're not sure, if you haven't heard of it, if it seems too far away, you're not staying at Coronado Springs, is it really worth making the trip? I'm going to tell you why this restaurant, which I believe is a unique combination of exceptional atmosphere, high quality food, great pricing, beautiful views, etc., is really hard to beat. So why is it overlooked? And I tried to think about this because, again, I think if you've been there before, you know what a relatively hidden gem this is, but it is sort of hidden in plain sight in the middle of the lake. So I think a lot of guests don't even know it exists until they almost stumble across it. And because Coronado Springs and I think mistakenly so, for a lot of people is often seen as a quote unquote convention resort, a lot of non-resort guests don't necessarily go there. I think that has changed for a lot of people with the opening of the Grand Destino Tower. But I also think because this restaurant has a sort of a lounge feel to it, I think a lot of people assume it's probably just drinks, maybe not one of the best food menus at a quote unquote moderate resort, but I think they are wildly mistaken. I think it really is one of the best under the radar spots, again, especially now this time of year as it's coming to fall-ish, winter-ish. I mean, it's still 80 degrees out, but eventually it's going to get cooler. The open air atmosphere with the 360-degree water views are beautiful. I think the food is incredible, especially for the price. I think it legitimately is one of the best value to quality ratios of any of the resort restaurants. It's beautiful at night, especially during golden hour. Like it literally sort of glows with the setting sun. It is very chill. It has a super relaxing vibe. You never feel rushed there. It's not loud, which I like, and it really feels like this escape and respite from the parks. And while the restaurant, one, is not open for lunch, it opens at 4:30 until midnight, and it doesn't take reservations. It's a walk-up. I have found, and I don't know how or why, I do feel like the walk-up wait list here just seems to move faster than a lot of other resort or walk-up location restaurants. But let's get to the important part, the menu. Back on show 679, which is now like a little more than 3 years old, so maybe I need to do this again. I did do a live review, and I asked the question, is this the best lounge in Walt Disney World? I should have maybe qualified that and said, is this the best lounge restaurant in Walt Disney World? Because it really is where the menu shines. And it is great, especially if you like me, sharing small plates, but it also has incredible entrees as well. There are a number of shareable and dippable and spreadable appetizers like the crispy chicken wings, the trio of dips, an amazing steak or chicken berry salad. I know, I just said salad, but trust me, they're amazing. But I think it really is in the entrees that Three Bridges shines, and it's part of the reason why I put this on the overlooked list. The steak frites, the plancha-seared mahi-mahi and shrimp, the chicken mole is amazing. So are the pork carnitas tacos. They have a signature pressed burger with bacon, white cheddar, caramelized onions, roasted garlic aioli, arugula with smoked paprika fries, which is incredible, and an ahi tuna bowl, which is one of my favorites. They also have warm churros and a coconut tres leches, which is making this not sweets guy become a sweets guy. They also have an incredible wine and cocktail and sangria selection, and until December 13th, have an afternoon sangria university where you could explore and sample some of the different fruits and flavors of sangria and make your own. On December 13th, that's going to move inside to Toledo, the tapas, steak, and seafood location at the top of Grand Destino Tower. But again, this sort of ticked all the boxes for me personally. It has storytelling built into the locations, like literally Three Bridges connect the three quote-unquote lands. It is a great place to get together with family and friends for conversation and connection and sharing appetizers or sharing entrees. And it's one of those Walt Disney World dining locations that I think makes you feel like you are worlds away from the hustle and bustle and the crowds and the chaos of the park, even though you're just minutes away. There's a great, huge, allergy-friendly menu. Entrees start at just $18, and I think it sort of strikes that perfect Disney balance of great food, great environment, and great value. And number 3 on my list is going to take us from Disney Springs to the resorts and now to the Walt Disney World parks, specifically Disney's Hollywood Studios and the Brown Derby Lounge. Not the restaurant, but the outdoor lounge. Now, back on show 365, which is in 2014, which is crazy, I did a show called A Live Review of the Best Theme Park Restaurant in Walt Disney World You Probably Never Tried. This is why I have, still to this day, the Brown Derby Lounge, more than 11 years later, still on this list. And I think it's overlooked, again, for a number of reasons. I think a lot of guests either don't realize that it's not necessarily part of the Brown Derby sit-down location, or that you need a reservation for the Brown Derby and don't realize that the lounge is separate. It looks like it's just an outdoor patio, but it has its own menu, small plate and cocktail menu. I think a lot of people who are coming in, they're rushing to Galaxy's Edge or Toy Story Land, walk right past it. And I think sometimes the signature dining reputation of Brown Derby makes a lot of people think that it's just too, quote unquote, fancy, or you need a reservation and you can't just walk up and stop in. And I think that's part of it too. And I still want to do a sort of top 10 lounges in Walt Disney World, not just for what is on the drink menu, but what is on the food menu. Because I think lounges really are an underappreciated aspect of Walt Disney World. And most have a really strong menu, especially if they are attached to a restaurant, but you don't have to make a reservation. You don't have to usually wait a long time in order to be seated. And I think here in Disney's Hollywood Studios, and part of the reason why it's on the list, and I think a must try, it is one of the very few peaceful, shaded, and really relaxing dining spots in Disney's Hollywood Studios. I think walk-up availability makes it an ideal, no planning needed option. I love the ability to go to a park and not have to worry about having made a reservation in advance or trying to figure out where and how I can make a reservation once I get there. I think the quality of the food absolutely matches what comes out of the dining room. And I think this is also a perfect option for solo travelers, of which I am quite often, couples, or even small groups who are looking for a little bit of a breather during a park day. I think it's also the best place to just sit down and people watch and enjoy the feel and the sights and the sounds of old Hollywood, especially during the holiday time when all those retro decorations are up, the retro Christmas and holiday music is out. I think this is really where the Brown Derby Lounge really, really shines. And what's nice too is you have the option to join either an in-person walk-up list or use the My Disney Experience app and join the walk-up list from there. Because like some of the other locations, there are no advanced dining reservations available here. And so let's quickly talk about the menu, because yes, you can order things from inside, like the famous Cobb salad. You can get that signature dish from the main restaurant without having a reservation. But this also really is, I think, a bit of an elevated, especially for a lounge, menu. So for appetizers, they have things like a sake braised pork belly, a spiced apple salad, prosciutto croquettes, shrimp cocktail, escargot, and entrees include everything from filet mignon to halibut, chicken confit, pork tenderloin, shepherd's pie, short ribs, and 5 different desserts that, yes, include the creme brulee, the orange hazelnut chocolate cake, and the legendary grapefruit cake. And I think the kids menu is worth pointing out because they do have kids appetizers, and kids create your own entrees where they can choose chicken breast, grilled steak, mac and cheese, grilled fish, or hot dogs, and then pick 2 sides like vegetables, fruit cup, apple slices, etc. So while the menu has changed, it's a little bit more upscale, I think, from when I reviewed it 11 years ago, there are a lot of really strong entrees. And I think for Disney's Hollywood Studios, which is not necessarily known for higher end dining options other than the sit-down Brown Derby inside, I think this is a great sort of balance of value and quality, still getting to experience the Brown Derby menu, but in this al fresco dining experience outside. And that's a big part of why I put it on my list, because I think this is perfect for when you want elevated food without the commitment or the advanced planning of a full signature dining experience. So I think if you're looking for a very high quality meal, incredible cocktails, a quiet, shaded break in Disney's Hollywood Studios without fighting for a 6-month in advance reservation, beautiful views, especially in the evening, golden hour during the holidays, I think the Brown Derby Lounge is arguably one of, if not maybe, the single best overlooked higher end dining option in the parks. And for number 4, we're going to go from the parks to the resorts once again, and this time to one of my favorites, arguably my favorite resort, Disney's Wilderness Lodge and Geyser Point Bar and Grill. What I will argue is one of the most atmospheric and relaxed dining experiences in all of Walt Disney World, set on the beautiful shores of Bay Lake. It is open air, it is scenic, it is peaceful, and feels like a little getaway inside a getaway. and is one of those, again, like if you've been there, you're in the know, because if you know about it, you love it. But a lot of guests maybe haven't discovered it yet. So why? Why is that the case? And then why is it overlooked? Well, once again, Geyser Point does not take advanced dining reservations. So guests bypass it because they don't see it when they're trying to make an ADR. They don't realize just how accessible and wonderfully accessible it is from Magic Kingdom via a very beautiful and relaxing, especially again, if you do it a golden hour boat ride. So I think it's off the radar for a lot of people unless you are staying at Disney's Wilderness Lodge. And even then, sometimes it is as well because you have such great dining opportunities there. Plus, I also think that some guests think it's quote unquote just a pool bar and overlook the very high quality of the food. And again, it's also about location, right? Wilderness Lodge location, I think, is its benefit because of where it sits and its convenience to Magic Kingdom. But it is a little out of the way if you are not a resort guest, so I don't think it always shows up on people's planning lists. Plus, I think, too, the open-air concept is possibly a double-edged sword because it makes it look more like a lounge, which it is, than a full restaurant, which it also is. And for me, I think it's like the setting alone is worth the visit. The breeze off Bay Lakes, the soft lighting, that Pacific Northwest theming. There's lots of space to just sort of spread out and relax. You can hear and see the fireworks from there at night. I think it is one of the best places on property to just slow down and unwind a little bit. The food is consistently excellent, especially for a casual service restaurant location. The service is wonderful and some of the friendliest cast members you'll find anywhere. I think the menu is also surprisingly varied, and the value is also very strong. And I also think it is also one of the easiest high-quality dining options to get into without a reservation. And I think there's something else about this that makes it special and very much deserving to be on the list. Again, just because it's number 4, it doesn't mean that it's 4th on my list. It sort of has this unique hybrid model because this is where Geyser Point really gets interesting because it's both a quick service dining / lounge, which was when it opened sort of a new dining concept at Walt Disney World, but there's also a walk-up quick service window where you can order and pick up your food, eat it by the pool, find a seat by the water, or even bring it back to your room. And the menu, girl, it may be the best of the best. In fact, we reviewed it back in 2017. Again, I cannot believe this is 8 years ago. Back on show 482, we reviewed the menu at that time, which does occasionally change. And I think in this case has actually gotten, dare I say, even better. There are 7 different small bite appetizers, including a charcuterie flatbread, chipotle barbecue bison meatballs with a goat cheese polenta, which are incredible, a jumbo artisanal soft pretzel, and the Geyser chicken wings have either teriyaki or sriracha buffalo sauce on them. I say get both. Why choose? But it really is the rustic fare entree menu that Geyser Point shines. The bison cheeseburger, don't let bison scare you. It is not gamey at all. In fact, it is some of the most tender, delicious. It may be the still best burger on property. I will have that showdown eventually. I'm trying to make my way through all of the burgers. It is incredible. There's a crispy chicken sandwich with sriracha buffalo. There's a half rack of barbecue ribs. There's salmon, turkey BLT. However, when I was there not so long ago, I took a gamble. I took a chance and ordered the ribeye steak sandwich with caramelized onions, provolone, garlic aioli, au jus on a sourdough roll. I'm smiling. That changed not just my perspective on ordering the bison cheeseburger, but changed my perspective on this lounge. It is one of the best sandwiches you will have in Walt Disney World, in Orlando, period. Drop the mic. There's also a number of desserts. They have a signature cocktail menu with seasonal drinks as well, which is incredible. And I think this is such a perfect option. It's like if you are at Magic Kingdom and want to get away from the crowds and just sort of take a relaxing break, you can take the boat over. It's such a wonderful place to get out of the parks for lunch or a quiet dinner or a sunset meal or late night snacks or a low-key date night or end of the day unwind. I think this truly fits my definition of not just an overlooked and underappreciated, but true hidden treasure. It is beautiful. It is immersive without trying too hard. It is comfortable. It is scenic. It is full of storytelling that ties directly to Wilderness Lodge and the Pacific Northwest. Like, come for Geyser Point and then stay and just go and explore the rest of the resort. It is exceptional food quality, especially for a casual venue. I really do find that the cast members here are consistently some of the friendliest that I have found anywhere on property. And I just dig the relaxed open air lounge setting. You don't need a reservation. The prices are moderate. The views, especially during sunset or during the electrical water pageant, you can see the tops of fireworks. They do pipe in the music as well. It is truly a relaxing restaurant retreat from the crowded theme parks. And for number 5 on my list, and I really did have a tough time narrowing this down to 5, I'm going to cheat just a little bit, but it really works out in your favor. Because I think I'm going to sort of combine a number of them into one, and it'll make sense when I explain why. Because I think they all deserve to be on this list. I think there's something in this list within a list for everyone. I think they're all grossly overlooked, and that may be a good thing because you can often get a reservation or just walk up, assuming there's not a convention going on at the resort. And I'm talking about the not one, not two, not three, but the multitude of restaurants at the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin Resort. Now, when I said multitude of restaurants, I wasn't kidding. Like, I wasn't going to stop at 5 because there are 23 different restaurant, lounges, and dining locations at the Walt Disney World Swan, the Dolphin, and the Swan Reserve. So I'll break them down for you by type, and then I'll give you sort of the must-do of the must-dos of the overlooked experiences here. Because there are 6 different signature and fine dining locations. If you want what I think may be the best Italian food in the area, Il Mulino, the New York Trattoria, is at the Swan. Kimonos for sushi and some late-night karaoke. Amare serves Mediterranean fare over at the Swan Reserve. Todd English's Blue Zoo has always been at the very top of the sort of fine dining locations in all of Walt Disney World. Bourbon Steak by Michael Mina, that very modern American steakhouse which replaced Shula's maybe about a year ago. And Rosa Mexicano, again, is this upscale Mexican. For table service and casual dining, there's Garden Grove, which has character meals on certain days and nights. The Fountain is sort of diner-style comfort food. And the Lagoon has games, lanes, and eat, which is sort of a casual bowling alley restaurant. There are 6 different lounges and bars. There's Finn's, Stir over at the Reserve, Il Mulino, Kimonos, Blue Zoo, and Rosa Mexicano all have lounges. And there's also a number of quick service locations like Fuel, Java, and Grounds, and 5 different pool bars and outdoor dining, including the Cabana Bar, Splash Pool Bar, the Splash Grill, Chill, and Tangerine. So yes, there are 23 different dining locations. So the overlooked places that I think you should put on your radar of the overlooked dining locations at the Swan and Dolphin, which again, I think are sometimes off the radar unless you are staying there, unless you're going there for a convention, but absolutely should be, because I think some of the best dining in Walt Disney World and really the Central Florida area, period, is at these resorts. So for example, Todd English's Blue Zoo is one of the best, not just seafood, but restaurants on property, period. It's modern, it's elegant, it's very quiet, it's upscale, and the miso glazed miro, the first time I tried it more than a decade or so ago, was literally like the best thing I had ever put in my mouth. But the menu, which does change seasonally, includes things like crab fried rice, which I tried at the Swan and Dolphin Food and Wine Classic, which is amazing. These Asian fried spare ribs, an Angus beef short rib, and peppercorn crusted ahi tuna, which I promise will change your life. Bourbon Steak by Chef Michael Mina over in the Dolphin opened earlier this summer, like mid-July, and is this sort of reimagined modern take on the quintessential American steakhouse. Again, premium cuts of beef, seafood with global flavors. It replaced Shula's, which I didn't think could get any better, but it did. I promise I'm going to do a full review of Bourbon Steak by Michael Mina very, very soon. I think if you are looking for casual yet upscale Italian, Il Mulino, the New York Trattoria over at the Swan, is a signature dining location, but it's often missed, I think, by guests who are looking only at Epcot or Boardwalk dining. I think a lot of guests default to Via Napoli or Trattoria Al Forno. But I'm telling you, as someone whose last name ends in a vowel and is from New Jersey, and I was always had a tough time finding really good Italian food in Florida, the quality of the food is consistently excellent. It is relaxed. It is white tablecloth. It is a classic, like scratch kitchen Italian dining experience. Handmade pasta, huge portions, really warm, very friendly service. The antipasto alone is worth the trip. And it really is this refined dinner that feels miles away, but really is just steps away from the parks and boardwalk. I am a man who loves his Japanese food. I love my sushi, and the kimonos at the Swan for years was sort of like the secret late night sushi spot, and sort of remained that way because it's tucked away inside the Swan and almost feels like it's a little secret. And while they have an incredible sushi menu with signature rolls and maki and torched items and samplers as well, they also have great soups and salads and appetizers like gyoza and tempura, wagyu beef skewers, seared tuna, crispy chicken, etc. And if it is your thing, they also have karaoke at night after 9 or 9:30, I believe. Rosa Mexicano, the Mexican restaurant over in the Dolphin, opened in 2023. It's the first Orlando area outpost of the Rosa Mexicano brand, and it's both a blend of authentic and traditional and contemporary Mexican cuisine. It has a dedicated bar and lounge area, so again, you can go in without reservations. And I think this is what a lot of people don't realize, it's open not just for dinner, but for lunch and breakfast as well, which again, I realized I have not reviewed this for dinner or for breakfast. I'm writing this down. I need to add these on my list. Couple other quick standouts. Over in the Dolphin is the Fountain, which is probably, unless you're staying there, very far off your radar. It is just traditional American comfort food of burgers, shakes, and sandwiches. You sort of forget that it's there until you need it. And then you're like, oh my God, I can't believe how much I love the Fountain. It is the closest thing to a Jersey diner that I have found. It looks just like that simple sort of diner-ish menu, but everything is super fresh, very solid menu. Over in the Swan, Garden Grove, if you are looking for a character experience that's never crowded and has a surprisingly varied menu, check out the Garden Grove, which I think sometimes gets overshadowed by the quote-unquote big name character meals. Across the street at the Walt Disney World Swan Reserve is Amare, which I've reviewed in the past. Mediterranean-inspired cuisine, beautiful presentation, very calm, very relaxed atmosphere. The Swan Reserve, somewhat overlooked, inside overlooked. The Swan Reserve is a bit newer, just a few years old. I think a lot of guests don't just forget that it exists, especially if you're not staying there, but forget that things like Amare is in there. If you're looking for things like branzino and lamb and dips and flatbreads, Amare is absolutely worth the trip. And don't overlook things like Finn's Bar and the Cabana Bar and Beach Club over at the Dolphin. One is a lobby bar, great place for cocktails. They have a nice small bite menu before or after a park day. And the Cabana Bar, again, sort of have to get rid of that quote-unquote pool bar stigma because I think the food there is better than most quick service locations like fish tacos and coconut shrimp. Huge cocktail menu as well. And look, I've been saying this for years about the Swan and Dolphin themselves. I think they are often overlooked because they are not owned and operated by Disney, because they have this reputation of being quote unquote convention resorts. I think they are off a lot of people's planning radar, and they shouldn't be, because I think there's a lot of advantages, not just to staying there, but certainly to eating there. One of which is it's often easier to get into most of these restaurants than Disney Springs or Park or Walt Disney World resort restaurants. They're not on the Disney dining plan, which also means that there's less foot traffic from dining plan users. I think the food quality is better than a lot of places at that sort of competitive pricing. And it's an easy, beautiful walk from the Epcot International Gateway, as well as Disney's Hollywood Studios. I think guests don't realize just how close they are. Plus, you get a beautiful walk and view either on the boardwalk or in front of the Yacht and Beach Club of Crescent Lake. And behind the scenes, there really is incredible culinary talent, not just from the celebrity chefs like Michael Mina and Todd English, but if you've ever been to the Swan and Dolphin Food and Wine Classic in November, you've heard me say it is my favorite foodie event of the year. If you've been there, you understand why. And you also know that the food that you try there are samples and creations by the restaurants that are inside the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin. So they do really give you a literal and figurative taste of what to expect from the, 23 different dining locations inside. So that's my 5. It's Pepe in Disney Springs, Three Bridges Bar and Grill at Villa del Lago at Disney's Coronado Springs Resort, the Brown Derby Lounge at Disney's Hollywood Studios, Geyser Point at Disney's Wilderness Lodge, and basically all of the restaurants inside the Walt Disney World, Swan, and Dolphin Resorts. Now, if you are screaming at your car or your cell phone or your dog or in the gym, wherever it is, because I did not mention some others, this is the difficulty of limiting it to my 5. I will give you a couple of honorable mentions, which almost made the list, and I also do need to go back to pretty much most of these and do full reviews. Riviera had not 1, but 2. I considered both Bar Riva and Primo Piatto on this list. The Four Rivers Food Truck at Disney Springs, Le Crêperie de Paris in France in Epcot, the Ale and Compass over at Yacht Club, Trattoria Al Forno on the Boardwalk, Victoria Falls Lounge at Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge, and the Turf Club over at Saratoga Springs Resort and Spa. But I know there's probably another one, your favorite, that I left off the list. I would like to know from you what and where it is and why. But I hope that this list gave you a few new places to consider and try, and maybe even hopefully inspire you to slow down a little bit and explore some of these and the other hidden corners of Walt Disney World, because I think some of the best dining on property is sometimes found where you least expect it, and discovering these overlooked gems is part of the fun. But I do now want to hear from you. What is your favorite or hidden or underrated dining spot in Walt Disney World, and why? Share your pick in the Clubhouse over at www.radio.com/clubhouse, or better yet, call the voicemail at 407-900-9391. That's 407-900-WDW1. Let me know your thoughts, and I will play it on the air on an upcoming show. And if you are inspired to try any or all of these, please let me know what you thought. And if you need somebody to go with you, I know a guy. I am just an email, direct message, or a phone call away. It's time for our Walt Disney World Trivia Question of the Week, where you can test your knowledge of Walt Disney World trivia, secrets, history, fun facts, or if you can identify a sound or a clip from the parks. If you think you know the answer, you can enter via our online forum for a chance to win a Disney prize package. And this week's trivia contest is once again brought to you by you. No, really, let me explain. Because if and when you join the WDW Radio Nation, you're not just helping to support the podcast, the live shows and events, but you are becoming part of the magic that makes this all possible. And for as little as $1 per month, you unlock exclusive rewards and perks like scavenger hunts, group crawls, a private community, surprise care packages from the parks, and much more. More importantly, your support helps our Dream Team project, which benefits Make-A-Wish, and to date, we've raised more than $550,000 to help send children with life-threatening illnesses to Walt Disney World and bring magic to those families that need it most. So come be part of something bigger, be part of the magic. Join us over at www.radio.com/support. I'm so grateful for your love, support, friendship, and help, and I love for giving back to you and saying thanks to you each and every month. I want to quickly thank some of the new and longtime members, including Sam Funky, Sarah Johnson, Jason Rubin, and Michael Laverdiere. None of this can happen without you. So to join and be a member of the nation, go to www.radio.com/support. Now, before we get to this week's question, let's go back, review last week's, and select our winner. So last week we were talking all about the Disney Destiny, and every Disney Cruise Line ship has a godmother. Susan Egan, the voice of Megara, is the godmother of the Destiny, but there's only one of the Disney Cruise Line ships in the fleet that has a fairy godmother that's a fictional character. Last week I asked you to tell me, who was it? Thanks to all of you who entered, got this one correct, and know that it is, of course, from the Disney Wonder. It's Tinkerbell. And last week you were playing for a WDW Radio keychain, stickers, pin, and a mystery prize that I brought back to you from the Disney Destiny. And last week's winner, randomly selected, is Tyler Ferguson. So Tyler, congratulations. Your prize package is boxed up, ready to go. I will get it out to you right away. And if you played last week and didn't win, that's okay, because here's your next chance to enter in this week's Walt Disney World Trivia Challenge. So we're talking about dining. Let's continue to talk dining, and tell me, what is the only restaurant in Walt Disney World that moves? I'm not talking about a food truck, but what is the only permanent restaurant in Walt Disney World that moves? You have until Sunday. You know what I mean, if you know what I mean. As you have until Sunday, December 7th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern to go to www.radio.com, click on this week's podcast, use the form there. Once again, you're going to play for the keychain, the stickers, the pin, and a mystery prize. So good luck and have fun. That's going to do it for this week's show. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in this and every week and for being part of our WW Radio family. I am so grateful to and for you, and I hope you found a little bit of magic in this week's show. If you did, please share the show and tell a friend. If you share it on social, tag me at Lou Mangello. And speaking of which, I'd love to hear from and chat with you on social. I am at Lou Mangello on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. You can also visit loumangello.com and find out how we can work together, as I'd love to help you turn what you love into what you do through courses, content, and my Momentum events. And if you're looking for a keynote speaker who can share practical and tactical lessons from the Disney parks on delivering exceptional customer service and leadership lessons inspired by Walt Disney, visit loumangello.com. And don't forget, I would love for you to join me and the WW Radio family for the 19th annual Morgan & Morgan Walk for Wishes on Thursday, March 26th, 2026 at Lake Eola Park in Orlando. It is just 1 mile. We walk it together and helps Make-A-Wish grant life-changing wishes for kids. Come be part of the WW Radio walking team over at wdwradio.com/walk4wishes, and I hope to see you there. I hope that you enjoyed this week's show. I hope that you'll feel better and probably hungrier because of it. Always remember to be kind, choose the good, be the good for others. Have an amazing day and even better tomorrow. So until next time, see ya.
Well, it sounds pretty good. In fact, that's just the right spirit.